And we are back.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Believe it or not, literally, I can't believe it, but Big Brother Canada 10 is over. It's in the books, and we are here to review and recap everything that went down in what I think was a pretty exciting finale. You know, there was a lot of hype, I think, going into this. And what were your expectations going into this finale overall?
I mean, I expected it to be like either really good or really bad. I mean, everyone in the final three were very deserving, in my opinion. Like everyone was equally deserving, but like it could have gone either in a bad way or a good way.
Well, for me, like I expected this to not be a bad finale just because of the fact that we had such a good final three, like easily the best we've seen in so long. There's not a single person in this final three you can say they weren't playing the game. They were just, they were just here. They didn't do anything. Like you can't say that about this final three. And I think that's what makes it so impressive, but also made it very unpredictable. Like the way this played out is not the way I expected it to go very much at all. Before we do get into that, I did forget to say I'm joined as always by my lovely and beautiful co-host Allie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I just worked for 10 hours, and same with yesterday and tomorrow and Sunday.
Oh, that's great. You're a very busy girl.
But I'm good.
Yeah, I'm also working, but not Sunday. I have that off, thankfully.
Lucky, but I mean Sundays can be pretty chill.
Yes, but you know who also
unless it's a draw day.
You know who also has time off? The Big Brother house guests, because they're out of the Big Brother house. But you know what? We're going to go back to a time they weren't out of the Big Brother house and talk about this finale overall. So we start off, and every single finale, we get these really cheesy, very well put together recaps. And this time around, because it is the 10th season, they did a montage showcasing every season and its overall winner legacy. And I'm sure for you, having watched the show, I think you said you've seen almost every season. Some of them you haven't seen in full.
I've seen every season, but season 1 I haven't seen the middle part. But
that's what I meant by in full. Yeah.
I've seen the end and the beginning, but I need to go back and watch the full season. Everything else, I've seen the rest though.
Right. So I'm sure watching this, it was very, very, very fun to watch. Getting to see all these classic moments.
I was gonna say Big Brother Canada are top tier with their intros. They're so well edited.
Yeah, it's really well done. Because then we get what seemed like a 20-minute recap of the season. Yeah. And it was long. It was very long, but it was really fucking good because look, there's a lot that happened this season. It's a
Big Brother Canada thing.
This was the season of just unpredictability and explosiveness. There was so much to talk about. And I thought they did a pretty good job of doing it all in the 15 minutes that they had. But we're going to get into, all the, and again, like you said, I think editing wise, they just do a much better job on Big Brother Canada. Way more exciting, way less robotic and things like that. You don't hear it's double eviction night, baby. So that's always a plus. So, no, we're going to get into what actually happened. Let's talk about part 1 of the final HOH, because this did not play out the way that I really expected it to, very much at all. It was kind of similar to last season's. I think just a lot less intricate. Last season, it was that whole thing where they had to stack discs, and it took them 4 hours to do it because of the way that it was positioned. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
This time around, they basically had to collect and balance their stack of silver coins before anyone else can. And if their stack falls, they will have to start all over again. This comp was so tense to watch, mainly because there were so many times that people were getting so close to putting it together, and then the stack fell down. I literally didn't know what was going to happen. And in what's probably the most shocking moments, well, besides one moment of the entire finale, Kevin wins part 1 here, which was really unexpected.
I'm just gonna say it, that HOH part 1 was so intense to watch. I'm oh my god, this could literally be anyone's. Because
I thought it was Betty for a little bit, and then her whole stack fell, and I was like, no.
But I mean, everyone, I love them all so much. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and Kevin winning this, I think, is really incredible because, like, he literally, if you think about it, has only won one other comp besides this, and the fact that he won
Yeah.
probably, when he needs it the most is and very impressive to see. We've been talking about like who's the Perez of the season, and I think it's Kevin. I think it's Kevin because he came in, swooped in, with those comps. Like, yeah, he didn't win as many comps as Perez did, but one, he didn't need them. Two, I think that Kevin recognized that like there were other things besides the comps that were helping his game, and he didn't really need to win them until he absolutely had to. And the fact that he actually pulled it out, I was happy for him. As a fellow Kevin who's really bad at comps myself, I was very much rooting for him. So yeah, this is a really great moment. So
it was so good.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is that we don't really get any like segments of the final three here, aside from this one moment where basically Betty is really upset that Kevin won, hates that she now has to face Josh in part two. We do have to talk about some things that went down that we now know happened behind the scenes. I guess after this, Josh was like elated for Kevin. Kevin was like really trying to like hype up the fact that like he's not winning the game. Josh needs to, the two of them are going to battle it out and things like that. Josh just needs to win part two. We'll talk more about that when we get to part two, which Allie's going to discuss, because at this point, again, very up in the air what was going to happen. Betty or Josh could win this, and I didn't really know how this was gonna play out overall.
All right. It's time for part two of the final HOH, and this challenge is a trivia-based game show. They are to toss their beanbag onto the ledge and for the correct answer. If they're correct, the board will light up with their next question, and if they're wrong, all of the beanbags will drop.
Yes.
I'm going to say I really like this comp. I thought it was really fun. Like, you really got to like know your days and everything, but like I think that would be so much fun, and I'd love to. What I thought
was really funny about this comp is like both of them were struggling, but for completely different reasons. Like Josh didn't know his days, and then Betty just couldn't get the fucking beanbags to like fall through.
It was so funny.
Like, I was so worried she was gonna like time out.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Betty finishes with a time of 2 hours and 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And Josh finishes with a time of 34 minutes, which means Josh wins part two.
You have to laugh at the time difference. Like, it's so funny. Even Betty was like laughing at it.
It was hilarious.
But yeah, no, it literally came down to Kevin and Josh in part three, which was, again, not really what I was expecting. But at this point, I'm like, you know what? This is the most exciting outcome, because the only way, at this point at least, it seemed like the only way Kevin was going to get to the final two is if he wins this final HOH, because we know Betty and Josh are taking each other, right? Well, we'll get to that. But
we'll get to that.
Basically, all the jurors then sit down, and we see a bit of a round table hosted by last season BB Can legend Kiefer, who did, of course, win CFP, which makes me nervous because of who won CFP this year. We'll get into that. But we see everyone's very shocked to see Helena, and they kind of expected it to be Josh. And they all admit that sticking to a plan hasn't really been their theme this season, which is very much true. I feel like this has been an incredibly fluid cast in terms of that. So with Betty's game,
I'm gonna say that it was cute. Like when Helena was like hugging JC Lynn, and then she's like, "I wanted to keep her," but like, yeah,
it seemed like the message she gave to JC Lynn, like she's kind of just like over, like she recognizes that, like
it was just kind of like all game kind of thing.
Yeah. So with Betty's game, Marty brings up how incredible her veto win was, and Helena brings up how often she was put up and how she didn't have to do much, and Herman sees it as a strategy. Summer brings up their relationship and is unsure if she was manipulating her or not. And this was like what was really interesting about Betty's game, is that I feel like Betty, if she's in that final two, has the most to explain about her game, because the one point of contention that Helena especially brought up in all of her like exit interviews is that I don't know Betty's game. I'm open to vote for her, but I don't really know her game all that well. Yeah. So I think it would have been interesting to see, how Betty would have explained things. And you know why I say would have, spoilers. But with Kevin, Moose commends just how unpredictable his game was despite not winning comps. And this was the one thing I was very annoyed by. Moose was so fixated on like comps, and I don't understand why. He was. Like, there's more to the game than winning comps, Moose. Like, I don't know why he was putting so much stock into the comp ability. Like, it doesn't matter that much, especially this season. It didn't matter. Like, like the people who were winning comps were either the people that were on the block or people who didn't need it. Like, that's how this season played.
I know.
So yeah, Marty feels that he will represent the season the best, and Helena brings up how much of a mastermind that he is, and they all admit to being in alliances with Josh, and they are unsure why they didn't compare notes, and they feel he had trust, and Summer still says that he's never going to get her vote. No matter what he does, there is nothing he can do to get her vote. And I feel like Summer has kind of been like the driving force of this jury. Like, she's the reason so many people are like really pissed at Josh and things like that. Cause I feel like before Summer got there, like the jury was kind of just like mellow on Josh and they weren't really thinking much of him. And then Summer entered and they're very like, against Josh now. So I really do credit Summer for that. Summer remains the main character. And I love that. We love her for that.
We do.
Her impact. So Gino feels he was playing low key and now doing what he needs to do. Moose doesn't like that he was lined up with everyone. So basically,
I get what Moose is trying to say, but I mean, he was just playing the middle.
I think, he was definitely playing the middle, but the problem with Josh that I have, I think what's flawed in his game is he seemed like he was very indecisive. Like, did he want to go with Betty or did he want to go with Crash Test Dummies? And he would constantly do things that wouldn't really benefit either side. And I feel like every time Josh had that opportunity to like make a big move, he didn't do it. And that's what really just like frustrates me about Josh's game. So main takeaways from this roundtable, people are really high on Kevin's game. People are kind of like open to hearing Betty, but they're not necessarily like over the moon about her game. And they're very much like down on Josh's game. They're not very much with it at all.
I really liked this roundtable though. It was really like a fun one.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was a pretty good roundtable.
I thought everyone had pretty good insight.
Yeah, and honestly, like while they were bitter at Josh, they weren't as bitter as I was expecting. Like they explained there wasn't no one like Beth last season who was like so adamant about I'm never voting for Ty. There's nothing he can do, and then she votes for him anyway. So,
Beth.
Oh my God, very talented though. I will say she's a very good singing voice.
She is.
Yes.
She was just very annoying in the game.
She really was very loud.
Right. Arissa checks in with the final three and lets them know it's time for part 3.
Yes.
The comp is basically a know the jury, but done almost as a late night comedy show, which I actually thought this was really cool and fun.
Especially Herman hosting. That was like perfect for him. Like he channeled his like salesman ability. I forgot he was a car salesman, which makes perfect sense because like you see Herman, you're like, this guy seems like a salesman. So it makes sense
he's literally such a character. I love him.
That's what I'm saying. And I liked that this comp was less like a know the jury and more like how far did everyone get and things like that. Like it was a lot more challenging. So it was much more of like a crapshoot in that way. And I think that's what made it like a lot more exciting. Because it's not really about jury management. It's not really about jury management and like social ability. It's more just about, did you study your days right and things like that. So I liked that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was a really fun one and I loved it.
Yeah.
We need it more often.
Yeah, we really do. We need this and not the fucking like texting thing they did in CBB, which goes on forever.
Oh gosh, that comp.
Like this is the perfect middle ground.
Yes. Like every BBUS take notes and CBB.
They won't, but
After a very close comp, which I loved how close it was. I love comps like that. Josh pulls out the win and he's the final HOH of the season.
Yes, which again was quite surprising. Like I thought Kevin had this. I thought he was gonna because it seemed very close between the two of them. So at this point, I was very much like, you know what? Kevin played a great game. He definitely was like the star of the show this season. I was going as far as say this was very much Kevin's season, but it's the kind of game that does usually get it's the kind of game that unfortunately we'll just never be able to win. And I thought, okay, for sure, Josh is bringing Betty. Betty's going to win. That's how the season's going to play out. And I ate my words almost immediately once we came back, because what happens here, Allie?
All right. As a result, Josh must make the final eviction, and he, for some reason, chooses to evict Betty.
Look, when I was on Twitter, right, Video Brother, what I was watching kept getting delayed. So there was like 16 times where it kept going out, and I had to like, you know, the person had to keep playing it back. So I was seeing on Twitter people saying Betty in like all caps. And I'm like, oh no, what could this mean? And I thought it meant that, you know, Betty was going to be in the final two at first, and people were just really excited.
Yeah.
And when Josh was talking, I thought at first he was talking about Kevin, but then he brings up his best friend and says that he can't beat her in the end. And I'm just like, what? Like, I just don't understand.
Okay. He literally would have had a closer chance.
50-50 shot,
if he took her. But
literally.
Like him choosing Kevin, he just lost the game.
Yeah, now I will say there's a bit more reasoning behind this that I kind of understand now, because Kevin really was like trying to do everything he can to like really, you know, hype up Josh, tell him that like we're getting to the final two together. The second that Josh won part two, Kevin apparently like jumped into his arms and like said that like we're doing this together, we're final two. So Kevin was really again the one kind of like behind this whole thing. I just don't know how Josh fell for it. Like Josh said so many times that like, I'm taking out Kevin. And this is what I'm talking about. Like
he literally
Josh,
he was really like misted.
Yeah. If Josh takes out Kevin here, hell, not just here, if he has Betty take Kevin out at final four, like he would have way more credibility in the game right now. But every single time Josh has a hint of power, he squanders it immediately. And this was just a really bad showing. I felt so bad for Betty when she's walking out, so devastated, so in shock over what happened. He didn't even tell her that he was going to do this. I just thought it was just so bad. It was so bad to watch. And like, I get in a sense where Josh was coming from, but at the same time, I really don't. Like, it's so obvious that Kevin's like the threat to win this game, and I don't understand. And here's the thing, like, people have brought this up. Betty can downplay it all she wants, but like Josh knows Kevin's game. Josh has been in Crash Test Dummies. Like, he knows the game that Kevin's played. That's not a beatable game. There's no possible way. Like, I just don't understand Josh's reasoning here.
I don't either. It's just like, why?
Literally, if he was with Betty, he'd had a 50-50 shot. Like, it was.
He could have possibly won.
He could have. I think he could have swayed them over, but I don't know. It's honestly very hard to tell. I feel like that probably would have been a much more like closer vote, but we'll never know because Betty got third. Yeah.
She talks about how devastated she is, but she understands why Josh had to do what he did. She was so emotional.
But I applaud Betty because I could never be that fucking understanding. Like, never. Like, I would be, if I was in Betty's position, I would be so pissed. I would like not want to talk to Josh for a little bit. Like, I have no idea how Betty has. I
wouldn't be like pissed forever. I'd probably just be a little hurt for a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would definitely be hurt. Not forever, but like for a while, for a little bit, I would definitely.
I wouldn't be like bitter, but I'd just be a little upset.
Yeah, I will say the moment that I do want to talk about is when Betty's first announced. You see Herman and Moose are like very excited because I guess they wanted Kevin and Josh in the final two. Kind of disrespectful what they were doing. But like Betty like shut them up immediately. She's like, sit the fuck down. I don't know why you're so happy right now. It was so good.
That was
even
so
Arissa was in shock. I loved it.
That was so funny.
Business B came out and I was here for it.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
So
next part is yours.
Yeah. Okay. So we then get to all of the Jerry questions here. And this was the part I was honestly most excited for because I wasn't really sure. The one thing I will definitely say about BB Can, I'm sure I said this last season. I love that for Big Brother Canada, they do not have them like come up with questions as a group, have them randomly read all their questions. It's so boring that way. This is so much more exciting because it's like their own personal questions. It's so much more personal. Like it's so much more interesting in that way. There's so much. Like,
I loved all these questions. They were all so good.
Yeah, like I feel like, you know, you compare this to like Big Brother 23, for example, all those questions, like the majority of them, they're not really going to sway over the jury in any way. They're very like basic questions. These were much more like specific, and I liked that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So we get to this first question, and Herman asked Kevin how he held his cards to his chest and what his game-defining move was. And Kevin, let me just say, every single answer that Kevin did here was pretty much like peak, I feel like, answer for like jury questions. Like the way that Kevin answered the questions is the way I want most people to do so. Like he not only was like so impeccable when it came to the way he answered it, but he provided evidence. He showed his passion. He really like, you know, made sure like this is what I did. I need you guys to.
He had that Paris and Kayla passion where they were really loud.
Yeah, he really did.
But like, I'm just gonna say, I really like both of their answers. Like, they were both really good with their answers. Josh had some like stumbles, but I mean, he wasn't that bad.
I'm iffy on some of Josh's, but I'll get into that. But basically, Kevin talks about how, you know, the ride or die he made with Helena on day 2, how he never abandoned it, and how pulling in Josh guaranteed him safety for the rest of the game. And he only left because he was on to him and Helena's game. Again, I thought he just did such a great job, not only explaining what he did, but also why Herman had to go out, because I don't think that was something that Herman was as clear on. So I think not only did he do a really good job of answering the question, he gave Herman that clarity, which in turn is going to easily give him his vote. So I thought he just did a really good job with answering this question.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then Moose asks Josh about him being aligned to everyone and if his loyalties were dependent on who won HOH. Josh says he was very adaptable and had a hard time working with others, so he had to choose who he wanted and had to rely on others to pull through.
I did not like this answer at all. I feel like it's, to me, if I were to hear this answer, what I hear is I did not have much agency in this game and others had to basically do it for me.
I mean, yeah, like it wasn't the best answer, but I didn't think it was the worst.
Which like isn't true. Like Josh definitely,
like, he should have had more agency, but yeah.
No, that's the thing. Josh did have agency in this game, and like he's like downplaying it, which like I was not a fan of.
I know.
Like Josh really, in most of these answers, he doesn't get into like a lot of his strategy. He mostly just talks about like how he was feeling and things like that, which is like fine. But like, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of like the majority of his answers here. Gino then asked Kevin why Josh was the better move for his game. Kevin says that he had the 2 best HOHs of the season, that he had to go, and he told him in the triple if he went out, he had a 4-2 chance of surviving. But by flipping, he had a 5-1 in the event. And I loved the way he phrased that, in the event that JC Lynn won. And he makes it clear that he was definitely within the 5. And if Gino wants it represented, he should vote for him. And I love how impressed like Gino was by this answer. He's like, love you too, Kev. Like he was so excited to vote for him. This is what I'm talking about. Like Kevin not only again explains his answer, but he finds a way to appeal to the jury member that is speaking. And I think that's something that a lot of people just aren't able to do when it comes to answering questions. And I think Kevin did that perfectly here.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And Gino didn't even seem bitter at all.
Oh, no.
Summer asks why Josh blindsided her. He apologizes and he says he had to look at the bigger picture and makes really fast decisions, and he felt her, Marty, and JL were in the best positions to win, and she had such a large influence and was so loved on the jury by everyone, so he knew if he didn't get her out, it would have been harder for him to do so later on. Which, okay, this was actually a good answer. I thought this was his best answer, especially because, like, Summer comes in, you can tell she's, like, really annoyed at Josh, like, is so done with him, doesn't want him to win, and then seems like generally excited by like what he says. Yeah. Like he's like, okay, you're right. Yeah, she was fine with the answer. Yeah, I thought this was like easily his best of his answers. Like he did a really good job of like apologizing, but also kind of like explaining why he did what he did, even if it wasn't like I think the best move for his game. Yeah.
So Marty then asked if Kevin would have still used the veto on Josh. And Kevin says that part of his game was letting other people think his moves were theirs, which he did do really well this season. And he wanted everyone to think that they had to use the veto on Josh and already was planning to do so prior to winning. Again, just did a really good job of explaining like what he did and how much he, was able and what his thought process was like even before winning that veto. I thought this was a really good, another really good answer for him.
That was so good. Like, he's amazing.
Yeah.
JC Lynn asks if appearing to be weak was part of his strategy. Josh says it wasn't part of it. He just got emotionally vulnerable and he shared things with people in the game he never would have expected and generally didn't know he could cry that much.
I liked his honesty. I liked his honesty here. This was yeah, this is a good answer, I thought.
I mean, yes, he was honest and he did own his game.
Yeah. So Helena asked Kevin if he had any indication that she was going, and he said he had no idea, and if he did, he would have thrown his game away for her. His entire plan was to push both of them as far as he could. I love how much he was like hyping up Helena here and just showing like how genuine their friendship was. Like these two are going to be best friends like after the game. Like I definitely see them being like one of those duos where it's like they're always like posting pictures together and things like that. Like I can't wait to see that when the season.
Not gonna lie, I could see them doing like a podcast or something.
I could definitely see that actually. Like I feel like they'd give some really good insight. The Ghost was just like such an amazing duo and like it's like especially the fact that like it wasn't just all game, like they had a genuine like bond in that way. I think makes it that much more exciting to watch.
Such a pure friendship.
Oh yeah.
Betty asks Josh why he chose to evict her, and he said it came down to her winning more competitions than Kevin, and he knew if he was with her, he would probably lose. And she seems forgiving after this conversation.
I hated this answer. I'll be straight up. I fucking hated this answer. Like, I'm sorry, but like...
I didn't hate it, but it was very iffy.
Oh, I did. Because of the fact that, again, Josh knows Kevin's game. And Betty's comp wins very much do not cancel out the game that Kevin has played. Do you know what Kevin has done? You know how much he's done behind the scenes. You know how much he was involved with. You know how, he was very much like the factor between certain things happening. I just don't understand Josh's reasoning here. Like, yeah, Betty won like 2 comps, but like, how does that in any way overshadow, like, how is that any game way more threatening than Kevin's like almost perfect behind the scenes game that like a lot of people weren't able to detect? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, again, if Josh generally was not aware of Kevin's game, didn't realize how much he did, then yeah, I would understand that. But Josh did know. So like, I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed by this answer.
Yeah, that was pretty annoying.
And again, I give a lot of credit to Betty because she was very understanding, and I definitely would not have been as understanding in this situation.
Right? She was.
It would have been like, really? Comps? Like that's what you care about?
Mm-hmm.
So with questions out of the way, it's time for both finalists to give their final speech. And I will say right now, we get 2 speeches here. One of them is very just kind of like, but the other one is, for me, I think one of the best final speeches that I have heard in quite a bit. And I think you'll know what I'm talking about when I get to it. Josh goes ahead. He gives this very like rapid fire speech talking about how he didn't expect himself to make it this far. He's sorry to anyone that he hurt in the game. And he talks about like his impact within the game and how much he dominated comps in the latter half. And in addition, he says all the communities he represents and wants to represent this season as a winner of Telltale Nation, one of 2 Black people and one of 2 LGBTQ plus members to win the game. This was not a good final speech. It just seemed very like unrehearsed. Like it just didn't really seem like it wasn't like horrible, but it just was very half-assed. Like, I mean, like, I get like the representation, that's important, but like overall it's just a very half-assed speech. I'm also just not a fan of speeches that like run out of time. Like you should always like have a speech that's ready because you know you're going to only have like those 30 seconds. So I understand you got to rapid fire through things, but like there's so much more that Josh could have said here. And I just don't think he did that great of a job. Like I think his best point was talking about how like, oh, I wore like 3 different outfits because I thought I was going to go like super early and now I'm still here. Like I thought that point was pretty strong. Then obviously like, you know, what he talked about with like representation and things like that, that's all really good. I just felt like the way that he did it, it was very, very quick. And it just was not that effective of a speech.
It was just, yeah.
Especially when you compare it to Kevin's here, which my God, this speech was so fucking good. He gives us really passionate. Yeah, so he gives this really passionate speech saying that he knew walking out with glasses that he would be this big target. So he had to lie his way through to do so, whether that was like, you know, putting on a suit or, you know, wearing a fake wedding ring and things like that. Those are all things that like he had to do in order to get farther in the game. And then he does this thing that I thought was very interesting. He goes through every single jury member and basically explains them how he truly feels and perfectly summarizes his game, and then ends it by saying, well, Josh was the athlete, he was the strategist. This in my mind is just like the perfect final jury speech. Like
it was amazing.
The energy and just genuine like enthusiasm that Kevin had like throughout this entire speech, the way that you could see that he was trying so hard to like cover so many different things. He knew he had that limited time, so he had to go as fast as he could, and then just going down the line to every single jury member, seeing how excited they were. It was just really great to see. It actually did remind me a lot of and I haven't seen this season, but I have seen the speeches. Paris' final speech very much reminded me of that, with just like how fucking
Paris and Kayla.
Well, Kayla's people weren't impressed. Like people were not impressed by Kayla's final speech, whereas Paris, they were very like jazzed for. So like, and I felt that same like energy, you know, for Kevin here. I just feel like this is a speech like we're gonna go back to. Like we're gonna be like people are going to be watching this speech, like preparing for Big Brother seasons, thing like this is like the gold, one of the gold standards. It's not like, you know, the best Big Brother speech ever, but it's definitely in the camp for me of like one of the greatest, because not just because of how well he sums up his game, but because of just how genuinely excited he is for that win, how hungry he is to get that win. You really feel it throughout the speech.
It was very articulate. It was energetic. And passionate. It was definitely one of the top tier speeches for sure. Definitely. Yeah, obviously not the best one overall, but still one of the top.
It's one of the best for sure. I've not, it's like a lot of Big Brother speeches, I'm kind of just like, that was okay. Like even Ty's last season, like I thought was good. And I thought he did a good job with it, but it wasn't on this level for me. Like this was really just like so exciting to watch, and I loved every second of his speech here. Everyone then votes. I do want to point out what Betty says before she votes here, where she says, "I'm voting for the person who actually played this game," then like slams it down. Very interesting to talk about when we get to her vote, because at this point I was like, oh, she voted for Kevin because she didn't think Josh played the game. But we'll get to that. But yeah, that's everything going on in terms of the jury questions. I know there was a lot to cover.
I was very confused by what she said there.
Yeah, no, I wasn't at first, but then like, you know, knowing what happened, now I'm just like, you know, we'll talk about that. But let's talk about
once I found out
all the stuff that happens before.
Like once I found out who she voted for, I'm like,
Yeah, let's talk about everything that happens though before the winner reveal here, because we get some stuff.
Arissa then brings out all the pre-jurors.
Yes.
Melina talks about what it felt like being evicted first and how hard it was to process. I mean, I love Melina, but she was definitely one of the biggest disappointments because obviously she didn't really care and she didn't vibe with anybody.
Yeah. Not at all.
And then Jay feels the drama is unreal and all the backstabbing is insane, and they're very happy to be part of this cast. I mean, they were also very disappointing, but I mean, if they survived, maybe they could have made it far. Who knows?
Yeah.
And Steph talks about her blind side and is very excited that it's been one of the most memorable reactions of the season.
I love how she was talking about how like there's gonna be memes, you know, for years, and people are gonna, and she's gonna be able to watch it for like the rest of her life. Like I just love how like generally like excited like she is about like that blind side.
Yeah, she seems so nice.
Oh yeah, she really does. She really surprised me. Like I really thought she was gonna be like very unlikable, and that just turned out to be JC Lynn.
Oh yeah, best pre-jurors for sure, Steph and Tanisha.
Yeah, they're like the only ones that like I'd want to see again.
Mood. I mean, I'd like to see Melina again, like if she actually like cared.
I don't feel like they bring her back. I feel like Melina just like didn't care.
I know. Who knows? Unless they did like a first boot season.
That'll never happen. Like,
I mean, it could one day. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't even think Survivor's done a first boot season.
Yeah, I don't know, but it'd be cool.
I don't know.
And then Kyle talks about how tough it is to hold power this season because of how fluid this cast was.
And I was fucking like, I was dying at this because, like, here's the thing. Yes, it is hard to hold power, but nobody fucks up their HOH in the way that Kyle did. Like, Kyle literally set the tone. The reason people were messing up their HOHs, it all traces back to Kyle. Like, Kyle set the tone for the season. So, get out of here with that, because you literally were like on another level of bad.
He was so messy. Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see anything quite like that again. Like,
and then we got a little sweet moment from Tanisha. Tanisha says her daughter watched every episode, and when she came home, she was heartbroken, but was very happy to be reunited with her. I thought that was so cute.
Yeah, I love that.
Shout out to Tanisha and Sienna.
Yes, definitely.
We then get a montage of some of the biggest fights of the season.
So many good ones.
So iconic.
Like, generally, like, I think there's some that's like gonna go down as like some of the best, like especially the Steph and Moose one, the Betty and Moose one, JC Lynn and Helena, just like a lot of really great fights this season.
We're so iconic.
Yeah.
They also get a chance to see that Josh is actually a doctor and Kevin isn't actually married.
I literally forgot. I keep forgetting about Josh like being a doctor. Like, I feel like that was not as relevant as like it should have been. Like, Kevin not being married is like a lot more relevant, especially in terms of like Marty and the way Marty was like so shook about it. I thought was so funny.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Like, what a clown.
Right. We also get a montage of how close this cast was in terms of massages and cutting up. Okay, I'm just going to say this one was really funny.
It was an interesting segment. I did love the part where Herman and Gino were like wrestling each other. That was very funny to watch.
Oh my god, when they were wrestling in their underwear.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was really funny.
And then Kevin saying like Gino's his cuddle buddy. That was great. A lot of I always enjoy these montages. I feel like something that BB Can just does a better job with, that I really wish BBUS did. They just do a better job of summing up the season. Like, BBUS, they quickly rush through everything, and Julie's like, all right, in a few seconds, we got to get to commercial. Like, she's always worried about like going over time. And I feel like, again, it just speaks to Arissa as a host so much more at ease, so much more like just, you know, really takes her time with like going through everyone. Just way more satisfying to watch. Like, both seasons I've left, and I feel like this was a really strong finale. Did a really good job of summing up the season. I don't feel that with BBUS a lot of the time.
It's just so creative, so well done.
Yeah.
And these segments, I just like, they all fight, but they're all like this big family.
Yeah. All right. So, well, unless they're, you know, Marty, who's racist. So,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they seem forgiving, but like, I don't care. Marty's trash. Yeah, as are some of the other also are the Kyles, so are the Jesses. Not a fan of the Showmance either. They said some not great things. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Winner reveal goes down, and by a vote of 8-1, Kevin is the next winner of BB Can 10, the second Kevin to win BB Can.
Are you going to be? Are you going to be the third Kevin, even though you're not?
I'm not a Canadian citizen yet, but like, you know, let's talk about this though, because I feel like this outcome was something that a lot of people just kind of wrote off. Like people, I remember, and like, you know, Final Four was happening. People were writing tweets. People were doing like think pieces about how Kevin's about to get like Final Four. Kevin's not playing well this round. Kevin's just, you know, going to get himself evicted. And somehow he didn't. He survived that eviction. He got all the way to the end of the game. And there were so many points this season where I was like, there is no way that Kevin's going to be able to keep up what he does. And yet he did. And I think that's what's so impressive about Kevin's game, is that we just don't see games like this get rewarded very often. A lot of the time they're clocked. A lot of the time people figure it out very early on, and they're one of like the first jurors to go. And so I feel like with Kevin, to me at least, and I think you'll agree, this sets a really great precedent for Big Brother moving forward, because now, you know, a lot of the reason we've been getting people like, say, and going back to BBUS, the reason we've been getting people like, say, you know, like a Casey who just is like winning comps and just like nice to everyone. You know, the reason we get people like, you know, the reason we get people like that is because of the fact that people feel they can't be, you know, really stealthy and strategic and this like, you know, mastermind of sorts, because they'll get caught. With Kevin winning now, I feel like it's going to encourage people more to play that way. And I think that's going to make the game just a lot more exciting to watch. That is the one thing about Kevin, is that he always kept things exciting. He kept you on your toes every week. You never knew what he was really going to do with information, what he was going to do, you know, with the HOH. Like, he always kept you on your toes, and he was just such a exciting player to watch. Easily one of the most dominant winners.
He was so dominant. He was definitely villainous, but also heroic at times too.
Yeah, no, he was definitely the villain of the season. But the thing with Kevin that I like is that he owned the fact that he was a villain. He went into the game saying, I'm going to be the villain, and he was the fucking villain, and it worked. So yeah, all around, just a really, really strong game for Kevin. Aside from stuff he said on Jess's HOH week, we don't like that.
No.
Kevin played a great game. Like, I cannot deny the fact that Kevin played a great game. Very, very much the surprise this season. Like, out of everyone, Kevin was easily the biggest surprise.
Remember, we thought he was going to be a first boot.
Well, because I think it stems back to what he said in his final speech, where he talked about how, you know, you see someone with glasses, you see someone who like has a specific type of personality, they usually go really early. I think what worked with Kevin is that he did everything he could to hide that part of his game. He wanted to downplay it. He wanted to act like he was drawing dead every single week. And that was just never the case. He always had something cooking up. It's just nobody was ever to see it because of how well he was able to hide it. And I think that's what's so just impressive about Kevin's game. Just a really great win all around. I think if this season was to end in any way, I think Kevin is probably the best outcome we could have had, especially.
Yeah, he did so good.
Yeah, like, so really great all around. But unfortunately, we cannot say the same.
He's definitely a very deserving winner. I mean, obviously, Josh was deserving too, but he obviously made some questionable decisions. And
I'd say Betty was more deserving than Josh, to be honest.
Well, yeah, of course. Betty's definitely more deserving than Josh.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he definitely had his moments. He just was very questionable.
Yeah, the one thing we do need to talk about.
And also Josh was a question mark at times.
Yeah, Josh was very much a question mark. The only vote for Josh actually was Betty.
Yeah.
So, you think about what she said when she said, I'm voting for the person who played the game. I feel like she was saying that to like rile up Josh. Like, she was really trying to get him. I think she was like very conflicted. I think there was just a lot of mixed emotions going on. She was trying to make him see like just how upset and like hurt she was. Yeah. But Betty's loyal. Like, that's the thing. Betty's loyal. She's gonna, you know, regardless of the game, she wants to be friends with Josh. She wants to continue that friendship. And again, I think
the friendship is just the most important to her.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I respect her for that, because I feel like, again, I would probably not be that same way. I would be like, I just can't really talk to you right now. The fact that Betty can go as far as to literally do every fucking exit interview in a hotel room with Josh right by her side. I don't know how she does it, but like,
right?
She's doing it. And honestly, like, that's one of the reasons that we love Betty, is that Betty is a really kind-hearted soul. And it seems like she generally cares about people and a lot of the time puts that way ahead of the game. So I think while initially I think she probably was going to vote for Kevin, I think her heart did win in the end. So I think that's probably why it turned out that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
So just really interesting to see that she was like the one vote for Josh, even after everything he did.
Right? It's insane.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, Marty wins Canada's favorite player, which I am very disappointed and frustrated and annoyed.
I'm not surprised.
Like, I'm not surprised because of Facebook moms.
No.
And, like, he was so problematic this season. Like, don't reward him.
That's the thing. Like,
I'm just gonna say it though. Like, apparently, like, his family and friends were like buying votes or something.
Which is really like pathetic if like you're going as far as to do that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you have
so fucked up.
It also makes it seem like they have like no confidence in Marty at all. They're like, the only way he's gonna win is if we like, you know, fucking like, you know, buy votes and things like that, which is so stupid. No, my thing with this is like, look, generally, yeah, I didn't like Marty on the season, but it's not just because of the game that he played, which was fucking terrible. It's also because just the way that he treated a lot of the house guests, especially the black players in the game. He was just very hostile to the majority of them. Really just made it seem like he didn't want them around. A lot of the time was blaming them for things that was in no way their fault whatsoever. Nope. The way he talked to Betty, especially his constant distaste for her in the game, was just really gross to watch. He didn't like Summer either. He didn't like Tanisha.
Okay, I was so pissed off of how he was yelling at Summer that one day.
Yeah, that was really nasty to watch. And just the fact that all of that gets rewarded in the end, it's just really regressive to watch, I think. I mean, just you look at this cast, and this was a very like diverse cast overall, right? It was like the most like, you know, diverse it's been for a BB Can season. The fact that we still have people like Marty getting cast, unfortunately, makes all of that kind of meaningless, because it's like, you want people who are going to be able to make these players feel like they can play the game. And Marty was someone who didn't do that. And again, I commend people like Betty, people like Summer, people like Herman, people like Moose for being able to for being able to kind of just like you know, forget about that the second that Marty enters the jury, and it seems like they're going to be cool with him moving forward. But I cannot in any way condone or forget any of the hateful shit that Marty did this season. It was
because like it's really gross.
Yeah, it was just really fucked up to watch, and
I hated it.
Blatantly racist. Like, I wouldn't even call it a microaggression. It was very much racist. And Marty can say like whatever he wants. I don't know if he's commented on it. I doubt he will, because he's not going to acknowledge it. That's the other thing. Like, he's not going to acknowledge anything that people say. He's like, well, I still won Canada's favorite player, so there you go. No, I'm sorry. Like, that doesn't excuse any of what you did. And I just feel like, it was just, again, not surprised, because he's been winning shit all season. But like, I really was just hoping that like
I only voted for Summer.
Yeah, I did see people say that like, if we knew that Betty wasn't in final, like Betty wasn't going to win the game, she probably had a really good chance of winning this. But I think people were just confident in like a Betty win, and that's why this didn't happen. So yeah,
unless people were also splitting votes.
I think that could be possible too. They might have split them between like Betty and Summer, like Betty and Josh. You never know.
Come on, Moose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Betty was also probably getting the majority of like Canada's votes. And then Kevin got like, you know, the rest of them. But yeah, overall, that's how we do end this season. Now, I will say, problematic elements aside, really damn good season, I think. A lot of unpredictable gameplay. You know, so many things that are just like
unpredictability, fluidity.
Listen, Arissa said it best Arissa said it best this season, she said it best in the finale when she said this season is like a fever dream, because it very much was. I mean, the fact that like almost every single HOH was a fucking disaster that led to that person's eviction, you know, almost the very next week. You know, the fact that we had almost every single week the veto being used by the person on the block, unheard of, like not something we've ever seen before. The fact that we had like 1 week of have-nots, like that's very interesting to watch. Right? Even the fact that there was almost no power structure in this game whatsoever, aside from like the crash test dummies, is just really interesting to watch. This was such like a fundamentally different season of Big Brother, and that's what made it exciting for me. Is like there were so many things that like we typically see that we didn't see this season, aside from like the showmans that we don't need, but like aside from that, there were so many things that like we don't normally see in a Big Brother season, and that's something I really did appreciate here overall. And that's why for me this season is still like really damn good.
Oh yeah, I think it was definitely I don't think it's the best one overall of BB Can, but it's definitely high up there.
No, I definitely can't say it's the best one, especially because like there were like 2 to 3 weeks where I'm like, this is getting kind of ugly. I don't know if I can watch this anymore. Yeah. But thank God for that red gummy bear. Thank God for that red gummy bear. Thank God for
gummy bear saved the season.
Yeah, honestly, like we don't need Marty to win it. Give it to the fucking red gummy bear. Like that's what we need.
Could you imagine? That would have been so funny.
That would have been so good. They should have had the gummy bear as like an option to win. Like everyone would have piled the votes on the gummy bear. Come on,
that was so iconic.
The fact that was a thing this season, like generally, the fact that we can say a fucking gummy bear saved the season is so funny to think about. But it happened. Like it's not something that we thought up. It's not something that like we're jokingly saying. Like no, it actually happened, and I think that's so funny to watch. So yeah, overall, you know, while there's some very problematic elements to some of this season, I do think overall, you know, at the end of the day, this is still a really good season of Big Brother overall. I do have 2 questions for you because I know you can answer it and I can't. One, where does Kevin rank on like Big Brother Canada winners for you?
Let's see.
You don't have to rank them all, but like where would you put? Is he like
I'd probably rank
here or like?
I'd probably give him like somewhere in the middle. Lower, but I wouldn't put him high either. I'd probably give him like 4th or 5th, maybe.
Okay, that's fair. And then the other,
I really have to like think about that because I have to actually do like a winner ranking.
Yeah, I've seen most people say that like they think Tyshawn and Dane are like probably the top 2. And
they were great.
Yeah, and then
also my girl Sarah, I love her.
Sarah and Paris, and then like Kevin,
and then obviously my other girl Paris.
Yeah. And then the other question I have is in terms of BB Can seasons, where does this rank for you?
Ooh. Oh gosh, that is so hard. I think, let's see, that one is actually kind of easier for me than just the win, because winner ranking I'll have to really like think about.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a tier list.
We should. Yes, seasons. I really love. Well, 2 is amazing. 3 and 5 and 6. Love those ones. And was it? Oh yeah, and 9s. I'd probably give it like, I don't know, maybe 5th, 6th, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah, that I can't answer either of those questions because, like I said, I've only seen 2 seasons.
It's definitely a mid tier as well.
Yeah, of the seasons I've seen, I'm definitely a fan for sure. I hope this is not the last we see of BB Can. I know their ratings were not the best, so I certainly hope.
I feel like we'd have to like rank 8 the least just because it was canceled.
I don't think we can even count as a season. Like it didn't happen. Like they want to even pretend it didn't happen. Like
because of the pandemic, that's why it ended.
They didn't even have anyone for like the Wendy's thing for 8. So like,
yeah, it's true.
But yeah, other than that, Big Brother Canada.
Oh wait, actually, I forgot. I actually still have to finish the few episodes of 8 that I didn't, because I remember I watched season 8 when it was on. But like the last like few or so I didn't actually get to see yet. So that's another season I still have to finish.
That's a season I might just not watch because I just heard it was like very like ugly. Like even before like all the pandemic stuff.
It wasn't that good.
Especially with the like suspensions.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But and the racism. But yeah, overall Big Brother Canada 10. has wrapped. It's in the books. I won the draft, so that's exciting. Wait, listen, Kevin won the draft because Kevin won. That's how this is going to go now. If Kevin's in the game, like I was very dubious about drafting Kevin. I remember I'm like, I don't want to draft this guy. I don't think he's going to do well in the game. I want to take a chance on a fellow Kevin, but I don't think he's going to do well. And look, he fucking won the game. So the next time a Kevin plays, top of my list. Top of my list. I don't give a shit.
There's 2 Kevins at one, so
that's what I'm saying. Top of my list, like no question whatsoever. They're gonna be there. I don't care who they are. They will be at the top of my list.
You deserve this win because
I love. Yes, I did win the draft, and that's very exciting. Hopefully, maybe you'll win the Survivor. Oh wait, no, you won't because we did that one together. But
that one was our couples draft.
Yeah, that one we're not doing great in at all. But anyway, that's it for Big Brother Canada. Thank you to everyone who has.
Also, we have to do a rate, like our grade.
Oh, for like the season overall?
Yeah.
Oh, for me, it's like an A-, I think. Mainly because, like I said, those 2 weeks that were just really hard to watch. And I think some of the really problematic elements of the season do somewhat bring it down. But for me, the gameplay and the cast, most of the cast, and just the sheer unpredictability definitely makes this at least a really great season. So I got to give it an A-.
Yeah, I also gave it an A-. I tweeted that as well.
Yes.
Like when I finished watching the episode. Yeah, basically, like besides the problematic stuff and like some stuff in the middle, like overall fabulous season. Amazing beginning, amazing pre-jury, amazing end game, like so good.
Kind of an middle, but like once you got to that end game, it was like we're off to the races, and it just never let up from there. But yeah, other than that, that's it. We're done with BB Can 10. It was very fun to podcast this all season. Thank you to everyone who has watched. Like I said, I hope we are back for next year with BB Can 11. I hope they end up doing one. We will probably be back for BB 24. Not sure how that's going to go, but
I'm very worried.
Yeah, especially with like some of the stuff that happened this season. That wasn't, I feel like is going to be a lot more like it's going to be like that, but like a lot more intense, a lot more overt. And I'm just not like excited for that. Hopefully that's not the case, but like, you know, a lot of the time, like what happens in a Big Brother Canada season, like very much influences the next Big Brother season. And some of the stuff that was talked about here, I'm very worried how that's going to carry over into this, but we'll see. We'll see.
So worried, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But
so we'll be back for next season of BB Can. Hopefully they have
if there is one.
Yeah. Oh, you okay?
Yeah, if there is one, we'll definitely be back. But other than that, that's it for.
Like I have a soft spot for BB Can.
Oh, I definitely do as well now too, especially with like how much better the gameplay is. But that's it for this video, and production and host and shit like
everything is way better than US.
Yeah, generally. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you guys in our next video, and we will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
Bye.